Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into a truly unique society, one that feels almost sculpted by the very land it inhabits. Zykova. This isn't just a place on a map, it's like a living, breathing case study in adaptation and, well, resilience, where hardship isn't just endured, it's actually embraced. It's the forge of their identity. So our mission today is to go beyond just the facts, We want to really extract the most important insights from a detailed profile of Zykova. We want to understand what makes this society tick and perhaps what lessons we can draw from a people whose core philosophy, in their own words, is we are what we choose to become.
That's a powerful idea, right? And we're going to see how it shapes pretty much every facet of their world. Okay, so just to set the scene, let's get some quick facts out there. The people are called Zykovian. Population's roughly 2 million, spread across a vast
Yeah.
26,870 square miles. Pretty big area. Their symbolic color is black, which kind of reflects the harshness, maybe the resilience of their land. And they call themselves isolated industry. That tells you a lot already.
So let's start with the literal ground they stand on. Zykova is tucked away up in the northeast. It's dominated by these huge alpine ridges and stark, snowy plateaus. You've got these deep valleys here, carved out by glaciers ages ago, feeding into these incredibly fast-flowing rivers. When you picture that landscape, you can almost feel the chill, can't you?
Well, absolutely. And it's more than just a backdrop, That terrain fundamentally dictates how they live, their climate. Cold continental, alpine, think long, heavy snow winters, and summers that are really brief and cool. But what's fascinating is how they don't really see this as just a limitation. For Zykovians, this is actually ideal for mining and for the incredibly hardy mountain plants that manage to thrive there. The northern mountains act as a shield, and you get this dry air descending onto what they call the frozen plateau. It creates this very distinct, almost insular ecosystem.
And their architecture definitely shows that unforgiving environment. We're talking steep-roofed stone lodges, heavy timber framing, all designed to just shed tons of snow. Near the mining zones, you see these really robust industrial brick and metal foundries. Everything looks kind of fortress-like. It's not just about shelter, it's about serious insulation, durability, small, high windows, thick insulation. It's all about keeping that precious heat inside. You can kind of see echoes of Russian gulag towns maybe, or Scandinavian alpine villages. Even Windhelm from Skyrim comes to mind, that same feeling of battling the elements.
Right, and that direct connection, it extends right into their resources. The plants and animals aren't just there.
Yeah.
They're vital resources. You've got frost pine, these tall, narrow conifers, silver-tipped needles for essential timber. Then there's blood moss, which somehow grows under the snow. It's crucial for insulation, like a really vital commodity in their world.
Under the snow. Wow.
Yeah. And ice thistle, this sharp, spiky alpine shrub, gives them an anti-inflammatory sap. Super critical for people living such physically demanding lives. And for fauna, they rely heavily on the whitehorn elk meat, hides, the works. But they also have to deal with things like frost lurks, these burrowing reptilian predators. Apparently they're really dangerous in snowstorms. And glacier eagles, silent territorial birds, often seen as omens. Basically, every living thing either serves a purpose or poses a challenge that reinforces their need for constant vigilance.
Okay, this all flows into what I find so compelling about Zykova, their culture. It feels so uniquely, forged in practice. Take their food, for example. It's not about indulgence at all. It's pure survival testament. Think elk bone stew slow-boiled with root vegetables, that blood moss you mentioned, bone marrow, real hearty stuff. There's frost bread, a dense fermented loaf, and glacier pickles preserve root crops and fish cured in snow brine. They even have smoked fish cakes. Their crops are just as tough. Ice thistle greens, frost root tubers, blood moss again, and surprisingly, barley, which they grow in geothermal plots. And the flavors. Salty, sour, preserved, smoky, strong use of vinegar, snow herbs, fermented pastes. It really sounds like every bite is a reminder of their hard-won existence.
It absolutely is. And their clothing. Same story. Total practicality. Everyday wear is layered wool tunics, fur-lined coats, leather gloves, hoods, scarves, ear wraps made from elk hide or frost pine fiber. Literally layers of defense against the cold. For practical gear, they wear these heavy boots with iron-toed caps. Their outerwear is quilted and sealed with wax or ash oil, making it almost impervious to the weather. And glass or bone goggles are essential for the snow glare. A total necessity in that bright, reflective landscape.
Right, you'd go snowblind otherwise.
Exactly. Even their ceremonial wear, long woolen robes with these snow thread sigils, antlered headdresses, glacier blue sashes. It all speaks to their deep connection with the land and their identity. It's like a quiet reverence for the forces that shape them.
All right, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Their music. It's not just entertainment. It sounds like it's a reflection of their very soul. The sound of a people who find strength in silence and endurance. Their genres include these powerful work chants, deep throat song harmonies, which sound amazing, somber wind instrument dirges, rhythmic mining shanties, and these cold night lullabies.
Yeah.
And the instruments are just as unique. Horn flutes carved from glacier elk bone, throat drums made from hollow wood and hide, and wind boxes, like large bellows used as resonant drones in ceremonies. And the themes running through it all: survival, inner strength, ancestral voices, sacrifice for progress, and that enduring silence again. It's a really powerful auditory testament to their way of life.
And their language carries that exact same weight. Their mottos are so direct, almost like commands. Hard things shape strong hands, or stillness keeps the heat. There's no wasted breath, no flowery language.
Yeah.
And their slang is equally telling. To bite the frost means basically face hardship without complaint. Just get on with it. Dig deep is encouragement, especially for workers or soldiers, urging them to find those inner reserves. And dead wind, that's a powerful term for betrayal or a broken vow. It really evokes the chilling emptiness of their landscape. It all reinforces that core philosophy. We are what we choose to become.
Moving on to their society and how it's run, Zykova has this incredibly functional yet kind of harsh and remarkably fluid class system. It's rooted purely in contribution, skill, and grit, not wealth or birthright. At the top, you have the foremen. These are seasoned leaders chosen by tenure and proven competence. Then come the guild hands, who are really the backbone of society. Their status varies depending on their specific skill and, well, their output. Then there are the hollowborn. These are the youth or outsiders. The term kind of denotes an incomplete identity, someone whose place still needs to be forged.
They haven't proven themselves yet.
Exactly. But then there are the unfrozen. This is a rare and really symbolic title. It's for those who've survived total isolation out on the frozen plateau and returned, profoundly changed. They often become spiritual leaders.
Wow. So they actually valorize that extreme solitude, that trauma.
It seems so. They see wisdom not just in accumulated knowledge, but in the raw, transformative power of facing that absolute isolation. It's a profound statement. They see trauma as a potential source of leadership and insight.
That's intense.
Isn't it? And mobility between these tiers is entirely earned through perseverance, loyalty, sacrifice, boasting about your achievements, deeply despised.
Their family structure sounds equally utilitarian. It's built less on outward sentimentality, more on shared burden and survival. Families live together in these multi-generational stone lodges. Lineage is often tied more to your guild affiliation than just blood ancestry. It's apparently quite common for a child to take a mentor's surname. Yeah, it reinforces that idea that identity is forged through contribution, through what you do. Parenting is communal, emotionally reserved. Affection is shown more through sharing resources, passing on skills, rather than lots of verbal praise or hugs. And many Zykovians only get a second name after a defining life moment, like Cara Frostvale for surviving a blizzard, or Tolan Deep Iron for mastering some new forging technique. The expectation is clear. Everyone contributes meaningfully.
Their customs also really emphasize that stoicism and silence. Greetings are quiet nods. It's more about acknowledging presence than idle chatter. Gift-giving is rare, but when it happens, it's incredibly meaningful. Often a meticulously crafted item, a knife, a forged pendant, something that represents the giver's actual effort and skill. Coming of age involves the stone walk, a solitary trek through cold valleys, a real test of self-reliance.
A proving ground.
And their death rituals called the ash lift. Sometimes they scatter ashes, but often they actually forge the ashes into tools.
Forge them into tools.
Yeah. Literally embedding ancestral memory into the instruments of daily labor. It's quite something. And for public shame, they have empty plate hours at communal meals. Someone who's messed up sits there with an empty plate and reflects in silence.
That's fascinating. It's not just punishment, is it? It's social conditioning. What does that empty plate symbolize beyond just missed food?
Right. It seems to be about acknowledging your lack of contribution, the shame of not pulling your weight in a society where every calorie, every resource truly counts.
And using ritual silence rather than shouting or lectures
Right.
to enforce those collective values.
Yeah.
It encourages self-correction, maybe.
Seems like it. Endurance really is proof of loyalty there.
And if you connect this to the bigger picture, their government, the Council of Iron, it's non-hereditary, entirely labor-based. It's made up of trusted guild leaders and elders, 9 seats elected every 10 years. The re-election is apparently rare because leadership is seen as a heavy burden, not some prize.
A burden, not a privilege.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. The top position, the first flame, rotates every 5 years. Laws aren't on paper, they're etched into iron slabs called the Charred Code. And here's something really interesting. Decisions require unanimous consent.
Unanimous. How does that even work without everything grinding to a halt? That seems incredibly difficult.
It does, right.
Yeah.
But it seems their cultural mechanisms allow for it. It's less about fiery debate and more about these prolonged periods of ritual silence. Members might retreat to reflection chambers until a consensus somehow emerges, often guided quietly by the most respected eldersmiths. They see prolonged conflict as just a waste of collective energy, a luxury they feel they can't afford.
And while they don't have political parties in the way we think of them, there are definitely influential networks, guild clan networks, philosophical divisions. You've got the Deep Guild Compact, holding significant economic power from the mines. Then the Emberkin, who are more spiritual, acting as ethical counterweights, questioning the impact of all that industry. The Cold Workers are agriculturalists, advocating for more environmental caution. And the Forge Walker Circle, these are wilderness trekkers with informal public influence, often guiding new paths or warning of dangers. Disagreements aren't usually open conflicts. They're handled through things like reputation battles, that ritual silence again, or symbolic abstention from votes or projects. It's a very subtle but deeply ingrained way of societal discourse.
Which brings up justice.
Yeah.
How do they handle law enforcement?
Yeah.
It's done by the Ash Warden's volunteer protectors known for restraint and discipline. Trials are public, held in justice halls. Punishments heavily favor reparation and service things like assigned guild labor, or maybe a period of seasonal silence.
So not locking people up.
Rarely. Imprisonment is seen as wasteful, removing someone's potential contribution. They even have wander judges who travel to remote camps to sort out disputes, making sure justice reaches everyone. The core belief seems to be that law must be visible, fair, and like everything else, earned through adherence and contribution, not just imposed from above.
Yeah, and that ties so directly into their economy, where labor truly is identity defining. Zykova's whole economy is built on heavy industry, resource extraction, and some really clever geothermal innovation. Primary industries. Mining and metalwork are huge. They produce renowned iron, obsidian, and this stuff called frost steel, which is apparently highly sought after. They forge tools and armor known for durability over fancy looks. Everything is built to last, built for purpose.
Function over form.
Exactly. Geothermal engineering is big too. Their steam-powered systems and expert engineers are sought after abroad. They also export preserved provisions, remember the glacier pickles, and use rare herbs for glacial alchemy, producing valuable salves and adhesives. Because getting goods in and out is tough logistically, they wisely focus on high-value, low-bulk exports. Makes sense.
Their currency also reflects this hybrid reality. They use standard Azamon coinage, sure, but they also have iron marks, stamped metal discs, and guild tallies, which are etched tokens representing labor hours. And work ledgers, basically personal performance records.
So your work history is almost like currency, too.
In a way, yeah. Barter is also common, especially in more remote areas. But hoarding wealth, deeply frowned upon. People who hoard are called deep dragons. It's a quiet insult, but a potent one in a society built on shared resources and collective effort. What's crucial here is that this whole system ensures that your worth is tied directly to what you contribute and your skills, not just how much coin you've piled up.
And the guilds, you mentioned them earlier, they sound like the absolute lifeblood of Zykova. Everyone joins a guild by adolescence, apparently, and guild loyalty can rival family bonds. Major guilds include the Deep Guild for mining, the Forge Bound for metalworkers, the Ember Hands for engineers, the Snow Wardens for hunters, and the Bone Ledgers for accountants and alchemists.
Covering all the bases.
Right. Apprenticeships are rigorous. Journeymen have to complete a proof project to earn their full place, and they have this hall of names where the best works and the most honored hands are immortalized. That's their version of fame, I guess.
It really does sound like a society where your craft defines you. Your worth is literally forged in what you contribute. Indeed. And their belief system, their spirituality, it's also deeply woven into this industrious nature. It's described as an ancestral industrial animism. Divinity is forged through the material world itself, through the act of creation and endurance. Core figures include Thurn, the silent flame representing endurance, inner heat, persistence. Vilmora, she who watches the deep guarding ancestral memory, the moral silence of their buried dead. And the Shaper, a sort of mythic figure representing personal transformation through hardship. Their belief is quiet, introspective, and profoundly integrated with their daily labor.
So forging divinity through the material world, how does that affect their technology? Does it make engineering sacred or maybe limit certain kinds of science that might disrespect the spirit of the material?
That's a great question. It seems to do a bit of both, actually. It elevates craft and engineering to an almost spiritual act, but it also emphasizes a respectful, maybe cautious engagement with resources. You don't just exploit, you shape, you work with the material.
So no grand temples then, no full-time priests.
That's exactly. Instead, spiritual roles are filled by people already active in the guilds. You have eldersmiths, often master craftspeople, who lead seasonal rites and teach through symbolic craft. Ash keepers oversee the death rites and the forging of those spirit items from ashes, and whisper guides lead silent meditations and are said to sense emotional echoes, what they call deep wind currents. There's no real hierarchy. These roles are chosen by consensus, based on perceived wisdom and steadiness.
And their rituals sound minimalist but deeply symbolic. Daily things like the fire strike, a salute to Thurn, the silent flame, and the silence bench for processing grief, just sitting in quiet contemplation. Major festivals include the Ember Fast, where all the forges are extinguished and then solemnly reignited, symbolizing collective strength and rebirth. The Descent is a solitary night spent in the tunnels, seeking guidance, a profound act of self-discovery. And Ashbond Day is for remembrance, when they actually forge those ashes into tools. It's about embedding a soul's story in action, not just words.
It's striking how central silence is to everything. Greetings, shame, rituals, government. In our world, silence can be awkward, right?
Yeah.
Even feel confrontational. What does this deep cultural embrace of silence allow them to do or feel that maybe we're missing out on?
That's a really good point. Maybe it cultivates a different kind of awareness.
Perhaps. When words are scarce, maybe gestures, expressions, even just the weight of someone's presence become incredibly potent. It could be a form of communication that prioritizes careful observation and deep listening over just rapid-fire exchange.
And shifting to defense, Zykova's fortifications sound like true masterpieces, often hitting right in the snow itself. They have subterranean keeps carved directly into cliffs, frozen citadels with black stone facades and sloped roofs designed to resist avalanches. There's a vast, semi-secret network of tunnels allowing for rapid troop movement and silent repositioning.
Wow, underground networks.
Yeah. And they even use something called glacier wards, stone markers, that apparently emit disorienting resonances to confuse intruders. Their defense isn't about flashy intimidation, it's about denial of access and camouflaged resilience.
And that feeds right into their military structure, or lack thereof in a way. There's no standing army. Instead, every citizen is part of the militant reserve, trained to defend their guild and their land. There are elite units, like the Black Mantle experts in sabotage and tunnel combat. Stone Guard cohorts handle community defense. Frostwatch are high-altitude scouts. And the Emberots specialize in geothermal weaponry, using their engineering skills for defense.
So everyone's a soldier when needed.
Pretty much. Military roles are temporary but deeply respected, and basic defense skills are taught in every guild apprenticeship.
That's incredible dedication, but doesn't it create a society perpetually geared for conflict? Does it limit their ability to innovate peacefully or engage with outsiders?
You'd think so, maybe. But it seems to do the opposite. Because everyone is the military, there's no separate warrior class pushing for conflict or glory. Their focus seems solely on homeland defense. Their strategic thinking prioritizes long-term survival, not conquest.
And their military strategy reflects that. It's all about terrain warfare, attrition, psychological pressure. They excel at ambush and entrapment, luring enemies into those treacherous mountain passes. They practice silence warfare in combat, using signals instead of shouts, which apparently really unnerves outsiders used to more noise and aggression.
I can imagine. Very unsettling.
Right. Tunnel raids are common, and they even use ice manipulation, freezing, or melting key terrain to literally shape the battlefield to their advantage. Zykova rarely starts a fight and has famously never lost its homeland. They see retreat not as failure, but as strategic reshaping, always planning to outlast and outwit.
And their martial legends. They reflect this somber, unromantic view of warfare. There are tales like the Hammerline, about miners holding a collapsed tunnel for 7 days against an enemy. Pure grit. Or the Cold Forge Pact, a silent oath taken before conflict, emphasizing commitment over glory. There's even a myth of one below, an eternal watchman down in the deepest tunnels, always vigilant. Weapons are personal, often crafted by the person who wields them. Shields are apparently more common than swords, emphasizing defense. And helmets are always worn in silence, a sign of unity and humility.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for us looking at Zykova? It's a society where the harsh environment, its industrial identity, and its stoic, purpose-driven culture are just profoundly connected, intertwined. Their philosophy, "We are what we choose to become," isn't just a catchy motto. It's deeply embedded in every single facet of their society, from their buildings to their justice system. It's a really powerful example of a society where worth is defined by contribution, by endurance, by shared burden, not by inherited status or how much stuff you own.
Yeah, and in a world like ours that often values, outward expression, individual gain, constant noise, Zykova offers this striking counter-narrative. It really prompts us to consider what it might mean to find strength in silence, resilience in hardship, and maybe a deeper purpose in collective labor, in working together towards something.
So maybe the final thought for you listening is this. What might it mean for each of us to truly dig deep in our own lives? Not just for information like we do here, but to uncover the foundations of our own identities and values, kind of in the way the Zykovians seem to do. Something to ponder as you navigate your own journey.